My name is Simon Goldhill. I'm Professor of Greek at the University of Cambridge. Welcome to my exp. One of the most remarkable elements in Greek culture for so many people over the centuries has been the picture of particularly 5th century BCE classical Athens, where the dynamics of sexual interaction between genders was simply radically other from what modern Western society and its deep roots in both Christianity and Judaism have come to expect. And it's focused in particular, this concern, this surprise, if you like, on male desire for men. And consequently, Greece has become one of the ways in which Western society conceptualises its own relation to what we will now call homosexuality. I say we will now call homosexuality because that's a word that's only been around since the latter half of the 19th century and was only really in popular culture from the 1920s onwards. And it's really important to remember that one of the fundamental distinctions that we learn by looking at other cultures is that the idea of having a sexuality, that is to say, a pathology, something that defines you according to your sexual object, is a very modern and quite culturally bound idea. And one of the things we might learn from Greece is simply that. And we could learn it from other places too, and I'll come back to why Greece is important. But we can learn from looking at other cultures that what we take to be natural or inevitable is profoundly cultural and therefore open to change. Now, what makes it so interesting for us is not that it's just male desire for men. It's actually quite structured, quite ordered, and it involves always an older man's interest in a younger man, not men of the same age. And it usually involves younger people than we would take to be the normal sexual objects. Youths, as it would be translated. It's often called pederasty, which causes some problems in modern thinking because it gets associated with very young children, which is not true. But the idea that there was a culture where men could desire men, older men for younger men, and it was institutionalized in a normal way as much as marriage or heterosexuality is in our society, provided for everybody who felt that way, who felt that desire within themselves, the only model, the only privileged model to which they could refer. Oscar Wilde famously, they used to talk in their circle of doing philosophy. That is to say, that was the euphemism for their male desire because they saw it as inherently Greek and inherently somehow philosophical. So, in antiquity, it is extremely rare to discuss the sexual object as being a defining characteristic. If you sleep with boys or women, nobody's particularly interested. The assumption is you would sleep with both. If you were particularly interested in one, you might get teased a bit, in the same way as a man today in some patriarchal circles would be teased for liking very tall women or very short women. Right? It was where it was a personal deformation, not a psychology. And what that leads me to think about what we can learn from that, about how important it is just how extraordinarily odd it is to say that the reason why you are as you are is because you sleep with a man or a woman, not for the way you do it. So lovely, in Artemidorus, the great book of dream analysis in antiquity that Freud read, when somebody comes in with a dream that he slept with his mother, the first question the analyst asks is, in what position? The fact that it's a mother is less interesting or is subordinate to the position in which the act took place. I don't think any modern psychoanalyst would go straight to that. Right? That doesn't seem like a natural move, right? But for the Greeks it did, because how you sleep with someone is as important as who you sleep with. What would that be like today? Instead of multiplying L, B, G, etc., till the however many letters of the alphabet we wish to go, what would it be like instead of saying it's not the object, but the way you sleep with somebody? Instead of saying I'm a heterosexual, why don't you say I'm a selfish narcissist who usually abuses women? Or I am a passive, incapable lover who has no sensitivity. Or etc. Isn't that more of an insight into who you are than the person you happen to sleep with, the gender of that person? So one of the things we can learn from looking at ancient Greece is that there is not just different objects of sexual desire as it's been used for, but a whole different way of conceptualizing that desire. And I think that's, for me, is one of the most interesting possibilities, one of the potentials of using Greece today for rethinking our sexuality.